So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining. I'm Katie Friedman. If you don't know me, I am founder of Flexible Working People, and I set up the group now 8 years ago to help and support people to find better part-time and flexible working opportunities. And Pink Spaghetti is one of our partners. We've been working together for the last few years, off and on. First time I heard about Pink Spaghetti, I was wowed because I didn't know that such a thing existed. And we've been working together, and quite a few of our flexible working people community have been through, built their own businesses, and now have thriving virtual assistant businesses. So it's been really amazing to watch. And because I know it works and we've seen it, and I know the team at Pink Spaghetti, and I just feel so confident, it makes it all the more exciting to be running sessions like this so that you can get to know them and the team. So I'm going to introduce Caroline Gowing, who is the co-founder and MD of Pink Spaghetti. Caroline's built this incredible business. So hi, Caroline.
Hi, how you doing?
And Rachel Calter. So Rachel is a franchise owner. She is, hi Rachel.
Hey everyone.
I wave like. So Rachel has her own franchise. She's an owner of Pink Spaghetti in Nantwich and Crewe. And Rachel's going to share a bit about her journey and what led her to join Pink Spaghetti. And I think that obviously there are different options for how you become a virtual assistant and how you set up a business. And, you know, not one might be right for someone, but not right for everybody. And a franchise might be absolutely perfect for one, but not another. So no one is here to tell you that this is the right way to do it. We are just here to tell you that this is an opportunity, to tell you about it, to take the lid off. Franchises get a bit of a bad rep sometimes, I think, because people don't understand them. So I'm going to touch on that with Caroline and what franchise means, because I think that that's a really important point to cover. What does it actually mean? What does it give you? So the session really is just to get to know a bit more about Pink Spaghetti. It's very relaxed. Can you just, if anyone's happy just to chat, can you just say hello, or are you already familiar with Pink Spaghetti? Maybe type in the comment box. Are you brand new to Pink Spaghetti? Just let us know kind of where you are on your journey. Are you exploring just as being a VA? So just give us a little comment. I'm going to leave questions till the end. I'm not going to break up during the session. And actually, it'd be really nice if you just come on camera or talk without camera at the end to ask questions to Rachel and to Caroline. So Caroline, I'm going to start with you just to give an overview before we sort of get in about what Pink Spaghetti is and kind of what led you to set it up.
Okay, so we set up Pink Spaghetti, it's 16 years ago now, originally because we wanted to help small business owners with the tasks that they didn't know how to do, didn't have time to do. And there's quite a market out there, and it's certainly a market that's grown continuously over that time. After a couple of years of running the business, we looked at how we could expand, and we felt quite strongly, I started it with my business partner, Vicky, we felt quite strongly that we wouldn't have done it on our own, and we had each other, and we wanted to be able to give that to other people. We'd made a lot of mistakes, so we kind of learned what didn't work. But we'd grown a business, so we knew what did work, and we put all of that together, investigated different ways of expanding in that way, and came across franchising, which has worked really well for us. So we've run this as a franchise for the last 12 years, and effectively what we started in our part of Cheshire is now replicated throughout the country with franchise business owners like Rachel, starting, growing, running their business, building teams. So there's whole pockets of Pink Spaghetti helping small businesses all over the country.
Amazing, thank you. So let's just cover that now then. Let's just talk about what is a franchise. Can you just give everybody?
Yeah, and it's something that I certainly wasn't fully aware. Everybody goes, well, a McDonald's is a franchise. That's one everybody knows. But actually, for me, I think a franchise it's the power of a network. It's a business in a box. You get a sort of a business model. So who is the customer? Where is the customer? How do you sell to that customer? How do you price? what sort of tasks do we do for that customer? And then lots of support. I mean, the training is, it's nearly 100 hours of training in the first year, but it's also ongoing support. We have a whole network around us. And if somebody does something really brilliantly in one area, it's in everybody's interest that we tell everybody about it. If somebody doesn't know about a system, but they're asked about it by a client, we've got a whole network of people with years of corporate experience behind them, all who want to share and help each other. So there's very little as a network that we can't say yes to, both from a capacity point of view and from a knowledge point of view. So it really, every which way comes back to the power of the network. We've made mistakes, so you don't have to, and we can see what is working. We can keep people trained and up to date with legislative changes, technology changes, and just better ways of doing things. So yeah, the power of the network, the people within that network is incredible. It's incredible to support for people that want to start this business but kind of don't really know which direction to go into, and it can be quite lonely if you go it alone.
Yeah, brilliant, thank you. And I think the virtual assistant is, it's a fairly new thing. Like it's kind of popped up in the last few years, and now the appetite for it is huge.
It's huge, Katie, and we've worked together for a few years, and business has run and grown for a number of years, but really we were doing it before COVID, well before COVID, but COVID helped really open people's eyes to the fact that you could outsource. And actually now it is seen as the norm, really, in the last few years, that business owners don't have enough hours in the day. If they just rely on what they do themselves, their businesses don't grow hugely. And to get that support is almost seen as, it's seen as a standard way of businesses expanding.
Exactly. And people don't want to hire, in the economy as it is, hiring heads and having them on their P&L.
They don't. And also, if you hire, business owners don't want to hire a full-timer. Even a part-timer can feel really daunting in the early stages. If it's your first hire, but to be able to dip in and get a VA for a couple of hours a week or a couple of hours a month or any of that is a really safe way. So people tend to use us first for a few hours, and then they extend where they're doing, because
I think once you know what you can get, it starts growing.
Very much.
Okay,
so.
Brilliant. Okay, so I want to bring Rachel in now, who's waiting patiently. Rachel, welcome. Really want to hear your story. I know everyone else does too. So do you want to just start by telling us a bit about your background? What were you doing before, and sort of what led you to thinking about A, becoming a VA, and B, why Pink Spaghetti?
So I've been with Pink Spaghetti now for just over a year. Before that, I was actually a stay-at-home mum. So I've been a stay-at-home mum with my girls for almost 7 years. The last couple of years, I had a part-time job in a shop, just working a day a week. My youngest was due to start school, and that kind of made me feel a little bit like I wanted a new challenge, and I wanted something for myself, something to do that was for me, really. I actually originally just looked at admin jobs, doing where I just wanted to work at home with the flexibility. So I was looking for jobs and roles. And that's when I came across Pink Spaghetti. They just kept cropping up, and the branding is so unique, and really stood out to me. So I looked at their job pages, saw them on different sites and things, and realised that there was no franchise in my area. So after spending quite a lot of time looking into the website, that's when I went for a prospectus. So I got the prospectus, and as I went through the process, everything just felt right about it. The level of support, the business in a box, it is quite overwhelming to go on your own, and to build a business from scratch. Whereas going with the franchise gave me that support network of the support team, but also the other franchisees that have been there and done it. So that was it really. And everything just fit what I wanted. And it gave me that independence to run a business, but to have the support network around me as well.
Brilliant. So that, I love that. I mean, I didn't know actually that you were a stay-at-home mum for 7 years. And a lot of people that we talk to have been in you know, in roles or in careers, and I think it's really brave to like step out from being a stay-at-home mum and going, actually, do you know what? I want to own my own thing, I want to set up my own business and then invest in yourself. Like that's amazing. So you should be really proud of that. And you've only been in it for a year. So that's just incredible. And we're going to hear how incredible that is because you're already doing really well with your business. And so we'll get onto that. But I'm just like in awe of you actually, because you've really just picked up and you've just gone for it. So, okay, so let's get back to the story. So you had a chat, initial chat with the team. And were you at this point thinking, do I go alone or do I buy in? Because obviously that's a decision to make, isn't it? What was the thing that sort of, obviously they've got the support, but were you thinking maybe I could just do this on my own? What was the thing that kind of made you think, actually, no, I do want to become a franchisee?
I don't think I ever thought I could do it on my own, to be honest. I have had a business a long time ago, and it is really lonely doing it all on your own and trying to keep up to date with legislation, new systems, the changing of the industry. And I felt with having two young children, because my youngest is still only 5, to try and do that on my own, I just felt would have been far too overwhelming, and just it wasn't something that I was considering necessarily doing until I actually found the franchise. And knowing that I had that business in the box, the systems, the support, the strategy and things like that behind it, and how to find clients and where to go, and things like when you don't, like Caroline said before, when you don't know how to do something or somebody asks you about a new system, there is always someone in the network that will be able to help you. So no, I'd never considered actually doing it on my own again. And I wasn't actually considering starting a business. I did just originally want a job where I could just be at home, working at my desk, had the time to go and pick the girls up and things like that. But actually, yeah, when I found
And
Pink Spaghetti.
what are the transferable skills that you've kind of pulled in and that you're now using in your business? Like, what are you helping people with in their businesses?
A lot of what I do is social media. So previously in my old job, I had a blog and a social media account that did quite well. So social media was a little bit of my background. I'd done event planning, and it is, I suppose, when you've ran a business before, a lot of the things that you do in one business are very similar in another. So it's quite easy to sort of pick up those kind of roles. But I think it's just the organization. I've always been quite organized and things, and I think that transfers quite well, because then you can organize other people if you can do it for yourself.
Brilliant. Okay, so let's talk about the training. What sort of training did you receive? What did that look like to actually get yourself up to speed once you sort of decided to go for it?
So you get a huge amount of training to start with. Right from the very beginning, they help you put everything in place, setting up profiles, phone numbers, emails, all of that. And then you go through a couple of different phases of training where it's learning the systems that they use, it's personal branding, how to network even, which was one of the things that I was massively concerned about, it's confidence. Um, so many different aspects. It really sets you up, and it doesn't end once that initial training is done with. It carries on, and there's sort of power hours with the team where they'll go through different things, how to get clients, social media, how to create content, and also sort of business planning and growing your business and things as well. So it's a huge amount of different training on how to start your business, how to grow your business, and how to actually do the work as well.
Amazing. I mean, it is amazing, Caroline. I always find it amazing because I also think that there are people who just go, oh, I'm just going to become a virtual assistant and off they go. But they don't realise actually the amount that goes, you know, that goes on behind it, the systems, the processes, the learning, the how to get
We're always
clients, the
trying to improve.
networking.
We're always trying to improve things for the franchisees and for clients. You know, things are always changing. It will never stay still. But it also, as you said earlier, it doesn't mean it's right for everybody. There will be people that set up as a VA and almost have a niche, and they will fill their hours and they will be really happy and they'll deliver a really good service. that it's just very different. We know that, you know, a small business owner has many different things that they need doing, and that breadth and the network is, yeah, it kind of makes us unique for the customers and enables us to offer something unique to the franchisees as well.
Yeah, so Rachel's obviously one sort of type of person who you have as a franchisee within Pink Spaghetti. You know, she was a stay-at-home mum. She decided this was the only way, really. Sounds like Rachel wouldn't have done it on her own because she wanted that support. But talk to me a bit about sort of typical backgrounds or personalities, like other people within your network and the types of backgrounds they're coming from, because I know that they come from all sorts of different backgrounds, don't they?
There isn't a typical background. The range of corporate careers that people come from is astounding, and is a strength to the network. I think the common features would be, firstly, people come to us, the amount of times that I hear about stories where people are at a crossroads. So something's happened, there might be a redundancy, there might be kids have started school, kids have left school. There's a crossroads of something, and people say, I want to do something for myself. It's not that they're not afraid of hard work, they want to do something for themselves. And I hear that in probably 60% of discovery calls that we have. I want to do something for myself. The transferable skills, sometimes people doubt and they think, well, I haven't been a PA, a VA before. Actually, if somebody just has done that, they probably haven't got the right skills, because there's way more to helping small businesses. But Rachel mentioned being organised. We can train how to use systems. We can train who the customer is, where, how to price. We can't train a can-do attitude, the organised skills, the ability to want to find things out, to research. Quite often people are process-driven. That type of person is absolutely perfect. You put that type of person and our business model together and it works. So very much we're looking for those transferable skills that people might not even recognise they've got something that could help.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. If anyone's put mute themselves on mute, or is that me making that racket? Can you hear that background noise? So just on that, because I think it's really important to also just touch on the fact that virtual assistants just, I don't know, like by perception, I think people think that they're just admin assistants and just doing admin tasks. And what's been really fascinating for me, kind of getting to know your business and the types of people within your business, is they come from all sorts of backgrounds. So it's not just where they've come from, but it's the types of support they're giving businesses.
Yeah.
From tech VAs to marketing, social media. So it's just like, can you just give us a bit of a flavour of the types, so that people who are coming from completely different backgrounds and industries can think, actually, I could do that too?
We've got the traditional, the diary management, the calendar management, but even with something as simple as diary management, there are 100 different ways of doing those processes and making things easier for the client. We will always look at making things easier for the client, being more efficient, setting up systems, automating things, how we communicate with the client. But if you move away from some of the traditionals, people might want to be setting up appointment booking systems for businesses, or setting up CRM, customer relationship management systems. So there's a lot of process work there, not just being a bit tech savvy. Fortunately for us, over the last few years, and fortunately for small businesses, the breadth of IT systems that are available for small business owners, there's just so many different things out there, but that doesn't mean that small business owners know how to use them. And that's where we can come in and say, right, what are you finding difficult? What's repetitive? Have you tried this? Would you like it set up? And then, Rachel's strength is social media. She's absolutely fantastic at it, and it comes across beautifully on her own social media as well as clients. But social media, there's so much depth to social media. You could be doing huge amounts of artwork creation on Canva. You could be writing things. People tend to start off with what they feel most comfortable with, which is only natural. So some people will head towards the administrative tasks, other people will head towards the softer marketing, wordy tasks, and there's a market for all of that and everything in between.
Okay, so Rachel, let's bring you back in because I'm really interested to hear like what next for you. So you joined Pink Spaghetti, you went through the training and you've got all the support and all is good. How did you start to think about getting clients? What did that look like for you? Obviously, we've talked about you being strong in social media, but I know that anyone thinking about doing this, that's going to be the number one question is how am I going to get clients? That's always going to be how am I going to make money? So what did that look like for you? How did you get your first client and how did that grow?
Networking was the biggest for me. I think social media does have a massive part to play, but I think that's a lot about visibility rather than necessarily finding the clients initially. Um, Nearly all of my clients have come from my networking and the wider network that I've built from those networking events.
So talk to us
Which
about that. What does networking mean to you?
Well, I was terrified of networking when I first started, and I think most people probably are. Yeah, didn't want to do it, and I think I've possibly even said that on the training. But we had training from Pink Spaghetti on what networking really is, rather than going in and selling to the people in the room. And that made such a big difference to me. Just going in and having conversations, chatting to people about what we did, what we could do. And it's from that then I've got clients where people have sort of seen the sort of ideal clients that we would work for, those that are wanting to grow, maybe too busy, don't know the systems. And I've then had referrals from people that I've met in the networking groups that I've been to. And that's where most of my clients have come from. I do get a lot of, oh, I've seen you on social media, but I think that's after they've been referred to me or I've met them somewhere at networking.
So when you say networking, are you talking about in-person networking or virtual networking? What types of places, groups, like where are you going networking?
All of mine I've done has been in person. I've not done any online. And again, as part of the training, we were actually tasked with finding groups nearby. So I think it was five that we had to find. And I just went to all of them. And in those first few weeks and months, I just did as much networking as I possibly could. So it was all sorts of different groups, from really informal ones where it's just co-working and chatting to really sort of more formal pitches. And that kind of thing. So you do a 60-second pitch. But again, you're taught all of that in the training. So when you actually go to them, you can feel a lot more confident being there and talking about Pink Spaghetti and what you do because of that sort of little bit of training that you've had on even putting together a 60-second pitch. So you're not sort of left to try and put it together yourself. So yeah, it was all in person, but a variety of different female only, really, really corporate, really sort of yeah, the sort of pitches and that kind of thing, and everyone just stands up and says their bit, and then the much more relaxed where you just go co-working and meet different people just to chat.
Have they become like less terrifying for you now?
Yeah, I love it now.
Okay, because you just
I love
sounded
any of
like you were
them.
like a complete
Yeah, I
rabbit in
go to
headlights
loads. Yeah.
networking. Huh? Yeah.
Yeah, I go to loads. I have a specific group that I go to every 2 weeks, and then I'll just sort of pick and choose different ones to go to and sort of see different people. You see a lot of the same people at different networking events. But yeah, I love finding out about other business owners and what they struggle with and things like that. And I think again, it is that it's not about selling to those people in the room, it's about the conversations. And I think that made such a difference from having that little bit of training from Pink Spaghetti initially.
I'm really like impressed by your story, honestly. I mean, I'm kind of hearing it for the first time, but I think to go from stay-at-home mum to going to networking groups and being terrified to having a thriving business. Let's just talk about the thriving business because genuinely you've started earning really good money and you've got a client base. Like, can you just obviously don't share numbers, but just be good for people to know that a year ago you started from zero. Like, what does it look like for you now? What does your business look like?
Yeah, so I obviously started from zero. I have done it. I exceeded my own expectations, to be honest, over the past year. And I'm almost getting to a point where I would need to think of getting a team member in, which again, Pink Spaghetti will help with, because of you do reach a point where you've only got so many hours in the day. Um, so I've got some amazing clients. I do a huge variety of different work for them. Yeah, so it's gone really, really well. Um, yeah, and I'm getting to the point where hopefully in the next few months I will be getting some team members or
And
agents.
just to talk about flexibility, because I think that you talked about having young children, and a lot of people in our network and our community have got responsibilities, and whether it's caring children or other, they all here because they want flexible working. What does flexibility look like for you? Because as a business owner, that can be quite demanding. Are you managing to strike that balance?
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest thing is being able to pick the girls up from school so I can leave my desk at 3 o'clock and go and get them. That's amazing. Being able to just go to school events and not have to ask anybody or worry about rushing back or that was the big thing for me. I did want to build something for myself and I wanted to build a thriving business, but I did want to be able to still be there for them. It means, you know, when they're poorly, you're not having to sort of phone somebody and take time off. You can juggle everything. And it might mean that some days I'm working at 10 o'clock at night and some days I'm working at 6 o'clock in the morning, but it gives me that flexibility to do that. And that is a lot to do with the type of clients that I've got as well, that I take them on knowing they know that I don't try and take on tasks that need to be done right there at the minute. And that gives me that flexibility to still be there for the children. I think that was the big thing for me. And it is hard. You will get days where you feel like, or weeks where you feel like you can't take any time off when you're at your desk. But then on the flip side, you know, on the school holidays and things like that, we can just take a day out and go off and it's, you know, we can have time with them, or I can take my computer to soft play and do those kind of businessy tasks that don't require too much attention. Or for my business, you know, social media and that kind of thing. And you're still there with them and you're still able to get out. But yeah, picking them up from school was a massive one.
Brilliant. All right, Caroline, I think we should just get into a bit of the nitty gritty because we've run to half an hour and I know people are going to want answers to questions. I'm just going to ask you some practical questions. Like, so the first one is, how long does it take to train?
Oh gosh, there's so many different levels of training. That is almost a difficult question to ask.
Okay, so talk to us about the training.
Okay, so we actually have had 4 franchisees start today. So we train 3 times a year. So the 4 that have arrived today for our kickoff session have had access to our learning management system for 3 or 4 weeks. So they've got loads of things that they've been working through in the background at their own pace with our support. So we've had lots of contact with them. And today was kickoff. We've got about 3 weeks of pretty much daily but virtual live sessions covering. Today was kickoff and welcome. Tomorrow is LinkedIn. Wednesday is Facebook. We've got bookkeeping administration next week. That's an exciting one that everybody loves. So lots of different subjects. Rachel's talked about networking training. We actually bring in an outside expert a couple of times for that. So it's not just the team. And so that process is about 3 weeks. And then there's lots of homework tasks, again, using our learning management system. And then a couple of weeks after that, we get to see people in the office in Cheshire for 2 days of face-to-face training. Virtual is brilliant, but there's nothing that replaces that face-to-face, which is great.
So everything up until those 2 days.
Everything up till then is virtual. People are very welcome to come into the office if they want to, but yeah, everything is virtual. It works so well. So those 2 days, we have more networking training. We have a photographer in to do some branding shots and lots of in-depth lots of in-depth training. But then training goes on to monthly different sessions. And then once people have been in business for just over a year, they get to go on an accelerator program. So it kind of, there's a lot of training.
So when you say involved, what do they get? They get website. You talk about what they get.
They get website, all the social media accounts, branding photos. They get templates for things they don't even know they need templates for, legal documents to cover GDPR, terms and conditions, access to every part of our intranet site, which covers processes and training and questions to ask customers. We offer unlimited support, so people know that they can pick up the phone or email into the support team at any point, and that, it is unlimited. And people require different things at different times. So it really is absolutely everything that you need to run your business.
How quickly can someone start?
Sorry, you just cut out. Was that how quickly can they start earning?
Yeah.
Or yeah, again, how long is a piece of string? We've had people that have arrived and have a networking session the next day, and it happens really quickly. So in the first week or couple of weeks, then we have other people and it takes longer and maybe up to a couple of months. But what I would say is there are so many different scenarios. We will never over promise that initial time, because we know it's really hard. And as part of the process of, we've got to be right for everybody, and people have got to be right for us. And as part of that process, once we've met people virtually, then we give them loads of information. And one of those pieces of information is the first 12 months real life figures. So the worst, the best, and the average, so people can see what's actually happened. So that, you know, they've got the right information before they go into it.
Brilliant. So I know that this is how long is a piece of string, and I know that you can't answer it, but the worst, the average, the best, like what sort of typical earnings could someone realistically be earning in Pink Spaghetti as a franchisee?
You would be talking about easily, you should be easily able to get to around £2,000 a month by month 6 or 7. You should be at a position of turning over, but I'm going to be really generic and go between 3,000 and 5,000 by sort of end of year 1, and then between your sort of 5,000 and 8,000, I'd have said that's a really, you know, it's a meaty amount of franchisees that turn over that amount generally. We have franchisees that turn over between sort of 12, 15, 18 and up, but that at that point, that is very much dependent on the franchisee's ambition. The top end is really where a franchisee wants to be, how fast they want to grow, how many team members they want to bring in. But usually it's that 6 months that people are worried about. Sorry, Katie.
That's the other thing that Rachel talked about, saying that she wanted to bring someone in. And I think that's another interesting point, because you can't earn £18,000 a month on your own. You have to build your franchise. So it's like, what are your ambitions? How much do you want to work? How much do you want to grow? What do you want this to be?
Absolutely. And building a team, you know, our franchisees are not just independent VAs that work on their own. We do build teams because the business is there. And so therefore, you know, and to get the work-life balance, you know, if Rachel has, when she has a team, summer holidays, actually, instead of having a dip because you do want to take time off to be with the family, you have a team, and that carries on. So you're building really solid foundations of a business. We get you to be a business owner, not just a virtual assistant, and that really is quite a difference to some.
Brilliant. Okay, so my next question is, what's the investment? How much does it cost to buy a franchise, and what do franchises look like? Obviously, I don't think people on the call necessarily understand. Rachel has her own area, which is Nantwich and Crewe. So just explain what that means for anybody who's interested.
So investment level, it's 8,995 plus VAT, so just over 10,000. It's for a 5-year term. Any franchise you buy for a certain term, we don't then charge for a second term, because we choose not to. We want long-term relationships. You effectively own a territory, and different franchises work in different ways, but for us it's a set of postcodes, and that means that, so Rachel will own her territory. She has a map, a set of postcodes, and nobody else can market in that area. And whilst we didn't necessarily set out to do it for this reason, the benefit for our network is that it means our franchisees are not competing. You're never going to get two Pink Spaghetti well-trained PAs in the same networking group. That's protected. Because they're non-competing, they're incredibly supportive of each other. So that's been a real benefit of that setup. But again, I think if you're not familiar with a franchise, again, it is covered in our prospectus, and we will always answer questions on it. We expect people not to come to us knowing what a franchise model is.
So how does somebody find out whether their area is available?
Easy way would be to go to the contact us page on the website, put in your postcode, and if a Rachel pops up, it's a covered area. That said, there might be an available area neighbouring, very close. So the best way would be request a prospectus, and the first thing we do is check out the location. And if it's available, you get a prospectus, and if it's not, you'll get an "I'm really sorry, we've already got a franchise in that area."
Okay, so for everyone listening, we will send an email to everyone who's attended with links to the website so that you can check and request a prospectus. So don't worry, we're not going to post links here, but we will email you with all of those. So Rachel, I'm just interested to bring you back in at this point, because obviously you talked about being a stay-at-home mum, and you hadn't been working for 7 years, and 8,995 plus VAT is obviously a chunk of cash. So I think it would be interesting just to hear from you kind of what that meant for you. How did you fund that? Obviously share what you feel comfortable with, but you obviously invested. What did that look like for you? How did you get to do that?
So I didn't have the money up front at all. So I did speak to the team about it, and they have a relationship with a business masters, I think it's called, where you can get a startup loan. So I got a loan to fund it. I think it's a government backed scheme, so it's called startup loans. So I went through them. There's a whole assessment process that you go through. It's very quick. It doesn't take long really, and the team at Business Masters are brilliant. You get your own advisor, and they talk you all through it. They calculate the cost of the franchise and some working capital, so you get a little bit on top to help with things like paying for networking groups and things like that. So that's all sort of calculated for you, and then yeah, it's an assessment process that you go through, and yeah, once it was approved, it was really quick to come through. So I took the whole funding and funded it that way through the loan.
So I think that's really brave. Obviously, it's paid off for you, but what were your feelings and thoughts when you were like, "Oh, I'm just going to spend this, get a loan, and get in and do it"? And how quickly did you make that money back? I know that you have made that back, but
Yeah.
how quickly did you make that back? And were you anxious about doing that? Like, what was your internal dialogue around that?
Yeah, I would say I was a little bit anxious, but my feelings were that any business that you were going to start up has startup costs. And so for me, it was just an investment in the business and in myself, really. And obviously, it did put pressure on you to make sure it worked a little bit more, I suppose, because you have to pay it back. But yeah, I had a lovely email from the support team when I got back from my holiday in August to say that I'd reached my break-even point. So I think that was around month 10 or 11 that I'd made that back. So yeah, that was a very nice
I
email to come
think that
back
you've
to.
done amazingly, by the way. I really do. I think that your story
Thank you.
is like incredibly admirable. Is that the right word? But like, I'm in awe. I think you've done brilliantly. Um, so you've made your money back, and now you're obviously broken even in August. And now anything from here is earnings, which is brilliant. Okay, so we've got a question which I am going to ask at this point, which is just quite from Sasha. What happens if I buy a franchise in my area and then I move house to a new area partway through the 5 years? That is a good question. I don't know what happens, Caroline.
Yeah, I saw that question pop up. Not very rarely asked that, but we have had, I think, about 3 scenarios where that has happened. So I think the first thing is, because you buy a territory, there are no guarantees. If somebody else is in that territory, then it's not for sale. But where it is available, and actually in the 3 scenarios we've had, it has been, we've just fully supported that franchisee to be able to move. But we can get into details of what we tend to sort of say, look, the customers you've got, you can take with you because we've got a good relationship with you. I think for full transparency, there's a legal cost. I think off the top of my head, it's between £300 and £500 at that point. There's changes in franchise agreements, but everything else we do in the background and just support franchises. We certainly have done in the scenarios so far.
Okay, so I think we've covered a lot tonight already. I'd like to open it up for questions. So if anyone wants to come on camera or keep the camera off and just wants to ask a question, feel free to come off camera or pop it in the chat box, and we'll do our best to answer. Is there anyone who's got a question for either Rachel or Caroline? And breathe. Okay, so no questions.
Oh,
Come on, there must be some. Have I been that good in my questions? Have I answered them all? Here we go.
I can see one pop up about
Right. Do you have any neurodivergent franchisees and are they supported? Great question, Gina.
Really good question. So we have, we do. We have a couple. One of them actually didn't have a diagnosis when she started, but did go through quite a traumatic time. Got diagnosed, and the support actually is the same for her as with everybody else. It's individual because it doesn't matter what's going on in people's lives. Our support is individual. So there are stories out. She actually got picked up by a magazine, I think about 3 months ago, and has been featured. So if you stalk us, go through our social media or just email in and ask, we're happy to share that. That story, because she was very open about it. It's been an amazing journey for her. So yeah, the answer is yes, we do.
Okay, and another question. Sarah, is everything always branded? In Spaghetti, can franchisees use the business model, back office model, but also use their own branding?
No, definitely Pink Spaghetti. I'm very proud of the brand. Any franchise would want to use the brand. It's the power of the network. We know it works. So yeah, the brand is the bit of a non-negotiable, that one.
Okay, good. Could you touch briefly on bookkeeping? As definitely wouldn't be my strength.
Yeah, it's not a lot of people's strengths, don't worry. I think yeah, Rachel's like, so yeah, don't worry. It's firstly, you need to do it for your own business, but actually we have a relatively simple business model. We have loads of training. We set up a system called Zero. We set it up for you so that you're at least hitting the ground, just doing the transactions, not having to work it all out. And then some people will choose to offer that as a service and other people will not choose to offer it as a service. So yeah, don't worry about it. You certainly wouldn't be the first to not love it. And it's very much the administration behind the bookkeeping. We don't go into any sort of advice of any level.
Yeah, I use Zero in my business,
Okay.
and I have absolutely zero knowledge of bookkeeping, and it's easy. How many hours of networking do you feel franchisees need to do to grow their business initially?
In the early stages, loads. I mean, Rachel talked about that first few weeks and months. Go out and just find the right networking groups for you. 16 years further on, I still run our original territory, and we do about an hour a month because referrals take over, word of mouth. So it's very much first few months, loads, and then you just find the groups that work for you and keep a low level. So that can be, I don't know, Rachel, how much do you do a month now, a year in?
A month. I have a networking group that I go to every 2 weeks, which is 2 hours at a time. And then I would pick up ad hoc ones alongside that, and then usually a couple of hours. So maybe sort of six or eight. But again, if it's a really busy week, I can get stand-ins and I can not do the more ad hoc ones. So it does vary. At the beginning, I went to loads. It really is at the beginning about getting visible, and I think networking is one of the best ways of doing it. So probably sort of every other day I was going to something, definitely.
You drink a lot of coffee in the early stages.
Caroline, do you know people who really genuinely hate networking in person and find that they do most of their networking virtually?
I think that's dependent on the area and the person. I think there are some virtual ones, but I think people have, it's a little bit 5 years ago. I think really most of it is in person, but we are used to people who don't, are fearful of networking. I certainly
Well, it sounds like
Rachel was. It's a story. Yeah. It's a fear of an unknown. It's a fear of having to sell, but actually you're not, you're listening. Which is why we train. Vicky and I absolutely were so nervous when we first started. We used to stick to each other like glue. And so, yeah, we train for that reason. And it is daunting, but only the first couple. It can be actually just really nice. It's good to have contact with people.
Okay, well, one more question and then I'm going to close. In terms of flexibility, can the job be done from remote locations? If you take a holiday but want to stay in touch, would you have to be present in your location?
No, holidays are allowed.
I worked from my holiday in the summer with my laptop. Worked from around the pool.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to leave the questions there. Thank you everyone for joining. Rachel, I'm just going to leave with you, which is if there's one piece of advice to anyone listening who is thinking about setting up as a VA, thinking about pink spaghetti, like what advice would you have? Like what's the one thing that you'd like to leave with people? Just putting you on the spot here. Doesn't have to be particularly profound, but just what would
Before
you
they
say
started, if
to
they're
anyone?
thinking about joining, is that what you're
Yeah, if anyone's thinking about joining, then what would your advice be?
go for it.
Okay.
No, I think it is a lot. I would definitely say contact the support team and speak to them because they are incredible and they can answer all of your questions. I think if you are considering going alone or going with a franchise, it does depend on the person, but what you get with Pink Spaghetti is absolutely amazing. The level of support that they give you is you can use, like Caroline said, it's unlimited. You can use them as much or as little as you want. So you might find people that never call them, or people like me that check in every month and send on so many emails. But yeah, I think I would contact the support team and speak to them about what they offer, because they're so knowledgeable and so friendly and so helpful that they could answer any questions that anybody's got. And if you do go for it, get visible. That's my biggest tip.
Brilliant, thank you. And Caroline, just back to you, just to finally end. Obviously, you said earlier this isn't for everybody, but it will be for some. What are the next steps if somebody wants to explore this, apart from getting a prospectus, if they wanted to set up a call and have a chat, they could do that via the website?
Yeah, but get a prospectus, and the prospectus, and in that email there is a link to say once you've read the prospectus, book a discovery call. It's totally no obligation. And every discovery call is different. It is led by the person and what their priority is and what their question is. You will never get an oversell. I'd rather people got in touch and went all the way down the process and then decided, no, it really isn't for me, but I've really understood it, than think, oh, well, I'm nervous about getting in touch. We, as Rachel said, we don't bite, friendly team, and we're just happy to answer questions, really.
Such a lovely team, I will say. Right. Okay, well, I hope that everybody who's listening has found that useful, helpful, informative. If you want, you can give us a little thumbs up to say that it is. And also, if you are interested in receiving the prospectus, can you just type into the chat box and say prospectus, so that we know who's interested and we can follow up. But we will send you an email anyway. It's just good to see, kind of get some feedback live from the people watching. So I hope you found that useful. Thank you, Rachel. I know that was really brave coming on and doing this tonight.
Very much so.
And we really appreciate you doing it, because I think just having somebody from the franchise with their own, who's only a year in, who's just gone through it, is just really helpful for people to see. Rather than Caroline just talking about what it is, it's like you're in there, you're doing it. So I think that's been really valuable. So thanks very much to the Pink Spaghetti ladies. Thank you for everyone tuning in. I hope you found it useful. And obviously connect with Caroline, Rachel, and we'll share all the links. So have a good rest of your evening.
Thanks, Katie.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.